And it's now 27 minutes to 9 o'clock, time for us to take a quick look at what's happening in the world of entertainment. And who better to take us through that than Stevens Mwendo, always looking dashy and smart. How are you doing?
Very well.
Okomzima,
Yes.
Good to have you around.
Good to have you.
And I don't know where your usual crew is, the Smithers and Quinta.
Micah,
but anyway,
I
they
always
must
tell
be
you,
very
you
busy.
have a traveling crew. I think you should have.
How come
Skype
come you guys never invite me to join you guys?
But you also leave sometimes and go for weeks and months also. I understand Boyo is away, somewhere in Uganda. I know that Quinta is also away. Solo could be somewhere sleeping. I wouldn't need to tell for him.
Smita, we don't even need
Smita
to find out where
Italy,
he is because,
so,
oh yes, he was in Italy.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, but it's been a very interesting week entertainment-wise.
Yes.
And one of the places I want us to start off, we don't have very much time because we'll review the Nairobian and the Pulse, but there was a trend, I think it was yesterday, of a certain DJ who apparently was arrested for being found with guns and ammunition. What was that all about?
This was a scene that happened somewhere at, a club, let's say Space Lounge, and there's a celebration of somebody's birthday, apparently the DJ's brother, and they are celebrating, and they are celebrating, and somebody captures something so cynical, if I would say that, and over here is a piece of something. And guys
chuma,
analyze it. Chuma. And the photo went viral, and people are wondering what's going on here.
And nowadays, I've noticed DCI is very much on Twitter.
Very fast.
So anything that is on Twitter, you better be careful. He could be on it.
Very fast. I remember Solo commented this on our group, and he said, I don't think this chap is really lucky, and the day did not end. They went for him. But the question about that is, one, the issue of guns in the club, that is what popped top of the discussion around that time. And the question was the legality that we have to carry this with
that leaves me wondering two things. Number one is the question of whether we still have that culture. I remember a time where you'd have celebrities, and I use that word very loosely, but let's just say musicians would come to clubs, and literally it would become fashion. How you display your phone, you put your phone on the table. Now for them it was putting guns. I thought that culture had been
I remember that almost 5 years ago. I mean, we borrow a lot from the Western world, and I've seen some of our musicians, sometimes our politicians, you can even see it popping down, and you wonder sometimes, security checks in the clubs, how do you let somebody in the club carrying a gun? Is it for their security or is it for our insecurity? And this dawned on us when one day we were at the carnival with the Pulse team, and I remember my friend was doing an order, and somebody tells him, young man, I know you guys, and I'm here to finish you. And as much as we didn't take that to the next level, but we told the management there, you discovered how insecure you can be in a club when you don't know what so-and-so next to you is carrying. And so,
absolutely. Yes. All right, and of course that was a very huge security scare, but what I was mentioning is what I was also wondering in regards to our security, because when you walk into a club, when you walk into a mall, when you walk into any shopping center, one of the things that they do is that they frisk you. They have that thing, I don't know what it, I think it's meant to be a metal detector that they check you. And one would imagine if you're walking into a club, then they've obviously done their security check that you're not carrying any ammunition, you're not carrying any knives, you're not carrying any guns, but this guy managed to get through.
I mean, that's the work of the bouncers. And sometimes I think bouncers would let go a guy they think is prominent, for lack of a better word. Because
despite the fact that you're carrying something that might be dangerous to others.
I mean, the fact that you are a DJ and you are known does not exempt you from going through the regulations of let's check everybody and make sure that the security of this club is all that.
Good.
And we have had many incidents in clubs before. I mean, Baricho Road, not so long ago, where somebody was shot and killed. And many other instances that we have had across the country and all over the world. Why would you let somebody go through the check systems without having to be checked, even if they were so and so that you know?
Okay, now going back to that case, where is it right now? Is he still in custody? Were the guns, taken away from him? I understand there was also quite a number of rounds of ammunition that he was found with.
Yes, it's still a developing story, and so DCI and team will be dealing with that.
Will be doing their work.
Right.
All right. But please, let's keep safe. If you go to the club, why do you need to carry a gun?
And clubs, again, clubs are one place where you don't know who is there. You don't know even the exit place if something crazy would happen. I mean, and we all go there trusting, believing that security is tight in those places. I think we need a lot of security in our clubs, and I think this should be a wake-up call for all of us.
All right, let's now look at something else which I see you've also got in the pulse, and it's been a big story this week in the entertainment world, and it's to do with MCSK and the monies that artists receive. Now, I do know, and this I know because I've had friends who run businesses where local music is played.
Right.
We know even when you get into a matatu nowadays, they're supposed to have a license, which they pay for if they're going to play local music. And this money, ideally, is meant to translate to income in terms of royalties to the local musicians. But that's not happening, according to what was happening, or they were saying.
Right. Mike, this has been a big story since actually Wednesday last week. And if you remember in the Pulse magazine also last week, we had a big story on Camp releasing 17 million releases 17 million to artists, to their members rather. Those should be promoters of music and producers and that kind of a thing. And now after that, MCSK releases monies to artists, and the amounts are crazy, and everybody everywhere goes, what is all this we're getting? And I just get extract from some of the artists there. Calligraph John says, siku moja tutakuja kuwavunja and all that. And he says, I don't even want you people.
That is not a song.
I don't even want you to collect my monies anymore. I wish somebody would go and pirate my music and make money for themselves instead of giving me this. And a lot of explanation that has been going on around the officials that run these CMOs, and of course head-to-head with the artists. And I don't think this is a story that's gonna go anytime soon. Mike, what I know is that the CMOs came together sometimes this year with the leadership of Kekobo, which is basically the copyright body that governs all these guys, and said, since there's been so much noise about double licensing, if I'd call it that, why can't you have a single license and license all those guys, and end of the day, collect these monies and distribute it back as royalties to your members? And this is the first time they are doing this distribution, and I can see from the explanation that one chairman of MCSK, Joseph Kasanga, says, we decided to give equal distribution, equal amounts, and that is what the question is now. How can you give this amount to Mike, whose music has been rotating 24/7, and give the same amount to somebody whose music probably has not even been played for a long time all that? And the question is, how do we measure our worth as artists? How do I measure my ability to make money from making good music and making it rotate, whether it's on radio station, TV stations, in clubs, and to make me equal with anybody else who has not been played anywhere
here's
else.
The big cue. The big question is, they collect the money.
Yes.
They have the licensing. People are forced to pay, and they even enforce. If you don't have the license and you're caught, then of course they harass you. What happens to all this money? Because if this money is not getting to the artist, whereas they claim and purport to be collecting it for the artist, where is the money going?
In fact, another story comes through where another body that governs hotels and restaurants and all that would go and say to members, don't even say this, don't pay this money. That should be page 8 of the Pulse magazine right now. They're talking about cease and desist payment of play local music. That is a protest note that says, because these guys are coming to the clubs and restaurants and telling us to pay for their music, well, what if we don't play it?
Yeah.
What if we play international music? And they could have a point. But again, like you're asking, if you are collecting monies and you are supposed to be, you are my agent, end of the day. I mean, I'm your member.
You're actually meant to be working
You're
for
my
me
agent.
as a musician.
What the guys are saying, why can't you be as transparent as you can and tell us, This is the amount we have collected. This is the amount we have given to the artist, which should be 70% of the collection. This is the amount we have given to person A, B, C, D. And this is what is in this paper today. Artists are saying, you gave so-and-so this amount and this amount. Can you calculate to the latter how much you gave to everybody? Then you can say, all the 17 million or 20 million and all that, because it just looks like, yes, you said you collected this much and gave us this much, but how can we find that truth?
And of course, the bottom line is that this kills the industry in two ways. One, the money, of course, is not reaching them, because really you'd want somebody to get money out of what their talent is. But secondly, the fact that now those who are being charged licenses and find out that the money is not getting to the musicians, then get to a point they're like, you know what, let's do away with Kenyan music. Let's just play foreign music. And that's really just killing the industry.
At a time when you are also insisting play Kenyan music. I mean, that becomes a very controversial thing. Yeah. That now we stop it to play Kenyan music because artists are made povers because somebody is not being responsible over what they should be responsible. And we're not just saying these guys are on the wrong. Probably, yes, they collected and they sent what they should have sent to the artists. All of it. Probably they did. But what we're saying is that we are looking for that transparency that says we collected this much, and we distributed this much, whether it was to Calligraph, to Willie Paul, or whoever it is. 2 shillings, I mean, 2,000, and I just saw the joke that I was being told I have 30 bob, and nilikuwa nauliza kama niko na 70 niongeze kuwe so.
Ndio ifike so.
But again, it's a question of transparency.
But that's a story, that's a story that you'll find in the Pulse magazine today. Do get yourself a copy of the Standard and get the details. Steven Mwendo has done justice to that particular story. Now, anything else you'd want to highlight on the Pulse?
My team has done justice to that particular story.
Well, when I say you, I mean you and the Pulse team, of course.
Right. Yes. Many big stories in the Pulse magazine, and if you just go to page 7 of the Pulse magazine, another big story on something that one Ken Amolo captured on a presenter and an estranged partner, of course, with a divorce already having been completed, a divorce process having been completed, and this guy says, well, divorce has happened now. It's official that we're not together. We be co-parenting and all that, and this lady is on fire. She says, you don't know what you're talking about. And she just anicas him there, and I think this is a story that everybody should just read on Tina and One Masanduk.
All right, there you go. Find yourself a copy of the Pulse, and there is a story that I say nothing about because, well, the details are right there.
The details are right there. Yeah. Many other positive stories ahead of there. If you go to page 14 of the Pulse magazine and just meet one Kevin Muley, who has done us so proud in terms of entertainment world. We all know how far he came from. We know what he's done for this industry. And today, this guy is going to be vetted in a very international way in this country by bodies that are legit, who can say this guy has made many transformations in the entertainment world, not just in Kenya, but in Africa. So the story is there for guys just to read and see.
I think he's also joining the Den, right? The Den of on TV. So of course that's a story that you can get there. Quickly, let's go through the Nairobian before we wind up. I see the headline is Member of Parliament to pay millions for beating wife.
Mike, when you talk about TV girls and media people again, sometimes you feel like you're on the flip side. And this is one personality who is in the media and an MP involved in a case whereby they have said we'll settle this out of court, and 3 million is what you're giving me.
3 million shillings. Find out what that story is all about, who the presenter is, and what the furore is all about. Then there's double, identical smiles, eyes, and physical features. Don't we just love twins? That's on page 3 of the Nairobian, and it's just twins looking good. And these are identical twins.
Twins looking good. Mike, I saw another one, page 7. Talking about Mudama's wife and all that, and not keeping matrimonial home. I think that's another big story, because this was a big story about 2 years ago that we followed, and I think that's something that somebody can read.
Yeah, to find out what happened to that story. Did Waitito spend the night in a guest house to avoid arrest? Yeah, this is another one that should be interesting. Remember, there was a time he was being looked for. The warrant of arrest had been issued out, and for Friday he was missing. Saturday he was missing, appeared on a Sunday. So find out where he may have been that night.
And somewhere in the paper today I just saw that people are going to pay more for the scenes they do in the city. And again, that's in a Nairobian today. Somebody should just find the pages.
Paying more for
the scenes they do
in the city. Well, just make sure that you have no scenes in the city. Then you don't have to pay more. Very simple. All right, Stevens, that's basically where we wind up Hot Topics this morning. Anything to look forward to this weekend? Anything hot that's happening?
Well, it's the midweek of the month, and so
Mwezi
Kokona. Those guys who just go back to the locals, go back to the locals. Those who are just going for the movies, let them go for the movies. I have a family event, and so mimi kunipata ni ngumu.
Well, Mwezi Kokona, and my dad used to call something that you'd call warufaji, which is basically advance. Those who are able to get advance waende wachukue. But anyway, that's where we wind up the show, and take this opportunity to thank you for watching Morning Express throughout the week. And from a very able team, from the editor to the producer,